Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation. In this comprehensive and informative short video tutorial, I'd like to share with you some highly beneficial and practical aspects that might be very useful for those developing analytical applications, or for anyone who truly wants to create their own custom analytical app and use the Navixy App Connect tool to securely connect that specific app to Navixy IoT Query data. Furthermore, it is important to note that at the same time, you absolutely don't need to develop your own complex tools or interfaces for user authentication. Here's how it works. You've developed your own application. This application is able to interact with App Connect. You can seamlessly embed your custom application into the Navixy User dashboard by using the Integrated User Application feature. And every single time a user logs into their personal Navixy account, App Connect automatically passes your application all the specific data needed to connect to IoT Query. Now, let's take a closer look at a specific scenario. You're developing the IoT Query Probe Report Builder application, which is running locally. Here, you thoroughly test and carefully debug it using specific hard-coded configuration variables to connect to the database. Now, you want this application to automatically and seamlessly receive the information needed to connect to the IoT Query database. To do this, you need to navigate directly to the section with information related to App Connect. Here, you'll find all the essential resources and documentation you need as a developer to successfully integrate this specific functionality. Alternatively, you can use this documentation when working with tools like Cursor or Anti-Gravity to give your agent instructions that will allow it to add the necessary functionality to your application. I want to highlight two important points. Your application must have an API service and an API endpoint, as well as API auth login. Through this API endpoint, App Connect transmits the information needed to connect to the IoT Query database. And secondly, your application must be able to work with JWT tokens. Let's continue. Suppose you've added this functionality to your application, which is hosted locally, and you want to test how this application can interact with Navixy App Connect and receive data, specifically by connecting to IoT Query automatically. You can do this locally, but you'll need to run the API service, for example, using containerization tools. But I'm going to take a different approach. I'll use various external third-party cloud resources that allow you to deploy and host your web applications in the cloud. For example, I'll use a specific service called render.com. To do this, I need to carefully prepare my local application and upload it to a Git repository. Then I need to synchronize my current project on render.com with this Git repository. If you also want to use render.com to deploy and host your web application for your hosting needs, and you're using Cursor or Anti-Gravity, you need to explicitly inform your AI agent that you'll be using render.com. That way, it will prepare all the necessary configuration for deployment. When deploying this application on render.com or any other third-party service, it's absolutely essential and necessary to add an environment variable called JWT and assign it a unique, secure value of your choice. At this point, every component is fully prepared. Our service is now successfully up and running at IoT Query Probe v3 on render.com. Let's add this application to the Navixy personal account. Let's go to your own personal account, then to the main account settings menu, then over to the user application section, and right here we will add this new application. In order to successfully add a new application, it is necessary for you to specify the specific App Connect URL. First, we need to connect our essential tools, which include IoT Query and navixy.com, and then we must also carefully specify the target variable. Within this specific variable, we are going to put the full official name of our service, which is IoT Query Probe v3 hosted on render.com. Now, let's go ahead and enter that name into the field provided. And specify the use of a session key. Let's check. We see an error. The error says that IoT Query is not enabled for this user. But that's actually not the case. Encountering this specific error message indicates we need to carefully verify if App Connect can successfully connect with our application. Look, our application has a full HTTPS address, and it's IoT Query Probe v3 on render.com. We also need to specify HTTPS here, according to this address. You can see that HTTPS disappeared, but our application started working. Let's save all of the changes and navigate back to the Probe v3 main application menu. Indeed, our application is working. You can see that it's authenticated through Navixy and has received the necessary data to connect to the database. Let's check if it's working properly. We've added several attributes that we want to use for the report. This shows that our application is working properly. Let's sum up. So there are two important points in the documentation. The first point is that your application must have an API endpoint, API off login to receive information for connecting to the database. And second, your application must be able to work with JWT tokens. Moving on, the third point involves adding the application to the user applications functionality, where you must include the complete and exact web address of your application, specifically including the HTTPS prefix. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for your attention.